Ooh, it's crazy. Turn that off now. All right, 30 seconds in. Morning. Good morning. Good morning, Becky. All right. All right. Almost ready. All right, we got a few of us on YouTube, and then we got Drew on Facebook. Good morning, Drew. All right, my computer is freaking out, but that's okay. Good morning, Shanna. Drew's first, won the race. Good morning, John. Man, computer is fried. I got weird little dots all over my screen. Good morning, Amanda. All right, well, that's not gonna work properly. It's so crazy. I blame Tim Cook. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Adam. All right. I don't think this is gonna work. Bad things. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Good morning, Sadie. Good morning, Mella. Good morning, Debbie. Almost there. Just trying to get set up. We're having a little technical issues as normal. That's okay. All right, I guess I'm just gonna go without that. Good morning, Richard. People coming on. Oh, I don't even see my clock. That's not good. Yeah, my computer is not doing well. Good morning, Mike. All right, people coming around. Good morning, Julie. Good afternoon, Darren. Darren in the UK, 2 o'clock. Darren, where are you at in the UK? Where are you? Not that I've been there or know anywhere, but just curious. I know a couple places. Man, I'm gonna have to pull up a different clock here, just so I can see where I'm at. Almost ready. Almost ready. I wish I could delete all of this on the playback, but I can't. So perhaps I should just always just be ready to go live. But Wellingborough. That is a long name for a place, man. 90 minutes from London. I want to go to London. That would be cool. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get started here in just 1 second. See what time I got here. Okay, we're good. We're good to start. Good morning, Kristen. Good to have you on. Okay, so let's pray, get started, and see what happens. Lord, we're grateful, always grateful for what you're doing and what you're saying and how you speak to us and how you lead us. And we just pray, God, that you would speak again today, that you would have your way with what we do, with what we talk about. Lord, that you would speak to our lives, the things that are truly going on. Lord, just bless these people. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, we're going to go ahead. My goal today is to finish chapter 9. That's where we're at. So we're going to try to go from verse 27 to the end of the chapter. My goal is to get to the last verse, which is verse 38. That's where I feel like the best of what we've got today is going to be. Better late than never. That's all right, Rose. We haven't actually really even started, so we're ready to go. So we're going to pick it up. Jesus is getting practical. He's just continually been interacting with the world around him, mostly healing people, casting out demons. Yesterday we saw him raise a girl from the dead. So he's showing and demonstrating his authority. He's showing and demonstrating his power. Verse 27. And Jesus passed on from there. Two blind men followed him, crying aloud, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, the blind men came to him, and Jesus said to them, "Do you believe that I'm able to do this?" And they said, "Yes, Lord." And he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, be it done to you." And their eyes were open, and Jesus sternly warned them. Let's pause right there for a second. So Jesus continuing on. There are people who are aware of what he's doing. His fame is spreading. People are talking, and he's telling them not to talk. He's been telling them not to share, but currently his fame is going out. People are spreading the word that there is this teacher, this preacher, this healer. People, I mean, you can imagine if the dead are raised. You can imagine if the leper is healed. You can imagine even from his teaching and preaching and the wisdom that he has, the crowd that he's able to draw. And so these blind men hear of Jesus, and I don't know the details. I don't know how they're following him. I don't know, but I know that they hear about him, and they're together, and they're rallying, and they're saying, "Hey, let's go find Jesus. Let's go meet Jesus." I imagine that these two guys, they just had this I don't know what you would call blindness. They were blind, both of them, and so they related to one another. How long they had spent together, I don't know. But isn't it true that sometimes that we interact, we have people around us who have similar needs to us, and maybe we're always we're looking for solutions to the problems in our lives. We're looking for and one of them maybe hears of Jesus, and he tells the other one, "Hey, I've heard of this guy Jesus. We need to go find him. He has even raised the dead. He has cleansed lepers. Maybe it is that he'll heal our blindness." But it's the relationship between the two, the rallying with somebody else to go seek out Jesus, to seek out healing. And sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes we need that second person. Sometimes we need somebody else who's with us on the journey. That's so important. Sometimes it's really difficult to do things alone, especially for a lot of people. I tend to be more of an independent type person. I don't really go with the crowd, but most people, just generally, most people, they do more with a friend. They do more with somebody else. Maybe the first time that you've ever kind of gone to church, when you went with somebody else. You went with somebody who had maybe the same needs as you. They were in a place where they were seeking the same way that you were seeking. So it wasn't just you going by yourself, sitting in the back, feeling awkward, but truly it was somebody who's going with you. And oftentimes I see that with people, that in order to get to the place where you need to be, you need to rally with somebody else. There you are, you're being stirred up. I know, I guess I've done it from time to time where I look and I see, hey, I'd really like to go check out this church, and I start hunting for a person to bring with me. Just in case they're weird, or just in case, on the drive home, I need to just be like, yeah, I'm never going back there. I need to bring somebody for support. And so you find somebody who's got kind of the same needs, the same hunger. All of that I had no intention of talking about, but maybe that's for somebody that's watching right now, that sometimes it's best in just not to do it alone. Best to kind of bring along somebody else with you. And so these two blind men, they go to Jesus knowing the stories, knowing what he's done, and they go to him and they ask him to have mercy on them. That's interesting. Recognizing that they're not coming in their deserving of this. They're not coming to Jesus saying, hey, heal us, we're good guys. Heal us, we deserve this. They're saying, no, have mercy on us. And then they call him Son of David, which is interesting because it seems, this title, Son of David, that they understand that Jesus is the Messiah, that Jesus is the promised one from the Old Testament, that Jesus is the one that they've been waiting for. They call him Son of David. They've had this spiritual understanding of who Jesus is, beyond the fact that he's just a good teacher, beyond the fact that he's just a healer, beyond the fact that he's just some guru out there, but instead they're recognizing his authority, they're recognizing who he is, they're recognizing, you are the Son of David. You are the Messiah that is to come. Please have mercy on us. So all of these, I think, are principles for us coming to Jesus. One, recognizing we're not coming in our deserving. We're not coming and saying, hey, I'm good, I'm worth this. We're not saying that. We're always coming and saying, Lord, you can do anything. And so we're asking for your mercy upon us. Maybe bringing somebody with you is a key. And then recognizing his authority, Son of David, that you are the one that was to be sent. You are the one to be worshiped. You are the one to be praised. And then Jesus turns to him and he says, do you believe that I'm able to do it? Do you have faith that I'm able to do it? I believe that faith is massive. Our faith is massive. You cannot get away from, in the Gospels, you cannot get away from the link between miracles and faith. You just can't separate them. There are many who want to separate them because it's uncomfortable, because obviously there are times in our lives where we needed something to happen and it didn't happen, and it's really a difficult thing for us to own that and to say, well, I needed it to happen, it didn't happen, and I had faith that it would happen, so it can't be my faith. But truly, there is something for faith. Even the disciples who were watching miracles happen when they walked with Jesus, Jesus often would call them those of little faith. There's something to being in a place and saying, you know what, I need more faith. There are those that would come to Jesus and they would say, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief, recognizing that their faith wasn't a lot. Truly, oftentimes when I pray for something, I don't pray with faith. Somebody comes and they've got this sickness and the doctors have diagnosed them and said, here's your fate. Here's what you're going to suffer. And I pray for them in my mind. There's not this faith of, oh, God's going to heal them. I mean, I've spent my life watching the majority of time that whatever the doctor has said is true. And so, I don't pray often in faith. And so then we come and we say, Lord, I lack the faith that I should have. I lack the belief that you can do this or that you will do this. And maybe that's the gap. I think those of us who walk with the Lord, we believe he can do it, but we don't often believe that he will do it. Is he willing? But he says, do you believe that I'm able to do this? They said, yes, Lord. Then he touched their eyes, saying, according to your faith, be it done to you. And their eyes were open. And then he sternly warned them, see that no one knows about it. But they went away and spread his fame through all that district. Jesus constantly, as his faith is increasing, or his fame is increasing, when he is doing these miracles, he's always telling people, don't go out there telling everybody about these miracles. And they still did it. And you kind of wonder, were there people that he told not to tell and they didn't tell? Because every time it seems that he told somebody to not go and share it and spread it, that they went and they shared it and they spread it anyway. And so why is he telling them not to share what happened to them and to point to Jesus? And I think it's this, that people will go and they will follow Jesus because they're looking for a trick. They want to see a miracle. That happens now. People go into churches to check out because the church is known to be a miracle-working church. Not just a church that speaks truth, but hey, you know, we've heard stories that people got healed in this church, or you know, something profound happened in this church, and Jesus isn't wanting to be a circus act. It's not just, you know, even Pontius Pilate in the end, when they had Jesus locked away in a, you know, or when they first brought Jesus to Pilate, Pilate wanted to see Jesus do a miracle. I think Herod also, same thing. He's just like, well, I want to see you do something. I want to see you do a miracle, a trick. Now, that's something that I think we need to be careful of, is that we're not coming to Jesus simply because, well, I've got this issue. I've got this need. I need him to touch me in this way. I need him to heal me in this way. And if he doesn't do that, then what do I have to do with Jesus? Was there any other point of following him? And so I don't think that that's his purpose. He has compassion, he has ability, and he's teaching in these things, but he's telling people to not spread his fame, and yet they're spreading his fame. Verse 32. Where I'm at on time here. Verse 32. And as they were going away, behold, a demon-oppressed man who was mute was brought to him. And when the demon had been cast out, the mute man spoke. And the crowds marveled, saying, never has anything like this been seen in Israel. But the Pharisees said, he casts out demons by the prince of demons. So this man, he's unable to speak, and he's unable to speak because of, it says, demon oppression, that there's demons that are causing him to not be able to speak. Sometimes the things that we deal with, and we talked about this a little bit ago, sometimes the things that we're dealing with are spiritual. Sometimes the battle is spiritual. Now here's the thing. Ephesians, the book of Ephesians in chapter 6, it tells us that all of the battle is spiritual. That it says you don't wrestle with flesh and blood, or against flesh and blood, but you wrestle against principalities, spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places, that there is demonic activity, that there is spiritual things that are going on. We do not seem to have the perception to be able to pick up what's going on around us constantly, that there are angels, that there are demons. Now, is that to say that there's a demon behind every sickness? It didn't say that there were demons connected to these men's blindness. It didn't say that there were demons connected to the man who was a leper. So there are things that seem to be just, there's physical, but there's still a spiritual side to it. There's still a spiritual element. There's still demons and angels and the devil and God, and there's still things that are going on that we don't see, that we're not aware of. There is demon possession, there is demon oppression, but I don't know that oftentimes we're able to diagnose those types of things, because a lot of times there's so much chemical abuse, there's so much drug addiction, there's so much alcoholism, there's so much, the fact that we're setting our minds on the wrong things, the amount of consumption of media and that type of stuff that's really messing with our head. You know, you imagine watching, if you've ever, and you probably have, I know I have, you watch a scary movie, and then you go out and, you know, maybe take the trash out that night. And man, it's just a creepy feeling that you have taking that trash can to the curb, walking out into the dark after watching that scary movie. All of a sudden your imagination is heightened, and you're just like, oh, what's going on? All these, you know, what could happen? What could be lurking behind the bushes, and all that kind of stuff. Now imagine compounding that type of thing over years and years and years and years and years of all of the media, all of the things that we've taken in. This isn't a discussion on whether or not we should watch that. It's just knowing that those types of things play a role. And so I would not say that all of that is demons coming and oppressing us, but that there truly is a spiritual something going on with so much of this. And Jesus just goes in and casts out the demon. He just deals with it in the moment. That Jesus and demons are not in the same place at the same time. That the demons run and flee from Jesus. Jesus speaks and they go. And I believe that as believers, as Christians, we can just draw near to Jesus, and the demons will bail. The demons are not going to hang out. And so as we really... that in James it says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. That the goal truly is that we're going to draw near to God, that we're going to be close to God. And then the things, the spiritual stuff that comes against us is going to, we're not pushing against it. We're not going to be like, hey, I'm going to take on the devil head on. Truly, we're just going to draw near to God. We're just gonna get to know Jesus. We're gonna be in His Word. We're gonna spend time praying, and we're gonna trust that He's gonna fight the battles for us, and we're gonna do our best to resist the devil. And eventually, he's just gonna give up, according to James, right? But the Pharisees, what do they say? He casts out demons by the prince of demons. There are those who, no matter what God does, they are going to have an answer for it. You know, if God does something that is evidenced in their lives, there's a story. Sorry, guys. There's a story, total fake story, but it's fun, about a lady who every day she would go out and she would praise God, and she'd say, Lord, thank you for this day. This is such an amazing day. You always provide for me. You always take care of me. And it didn't matter if it was raining outside or if it was sunny outside. She would just go outside and just, first thing stand on her porch and just praise God. And she had an atheist neighbor. And the atheist neighbor just could not stand the fact that this lady would do this, praising God, the God that didn't exist. Why is she constantly out there on her porch praising God? And so one day he finds out that she's in need. She needed food, and so he decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show her that there's no God. And so what he did is he went and he bought a few bags of groceries and set it on her porch for her. And as she walked out, she said, oh, God, thank you. You provided all that I needed. And the atheist man said, you stupid lady, God didn't provide that for you. I provided that for you. There is no God. And then she said, oh, God, thank you. Thank you for providing my groceries. And you even made the devil pay for it. And I think that's kind of the different mindset of those of us who look at the things of God, and we say, look, God did a miracle like these guys. They're saying nothing like this has ever been done in Israel ever before. And then the Pharisees are like, nah, he's casting out demons by the prince of demons. He's doing the works by the power of the devil, not by the power of God. There's a lot of us, I think, religious people that I've interacted with that do the same thing. They'll see something that doesn't quite match up with their belief system, and they're like, well, maybe it's the devil doing it. And I think sometimes we're reaching when we do that. But these people truly are amazed at what he's doing. But the Pharisees, there's always going to be those people that say, that wasn't God. That was coincidence. That wasn't God. That was whatever they want to throw in there. That was the power of the devil, or that was just odds, chance. It just happened by chance. There's always those who will never see the hand of God in the things that he does. And what's crazy is the people who were the skeptics here were the Pharisees, and the Pharisees were the church people of the day. That's crazy. Oftentimes I've seen that. I don't know, maybe you've seen that the people who see God working, who are blown away by the things that God is doing, are often not religious people. Oftentimes the cynics are the ones who've been in the church the longest. Oh no, I've seen stuff like this before. It's not real. Maybe there's a movement happening and people are following after Jesus, or there's this time of worship, spontaneous worship, and it's the church people. Hey, we've seen this before. This isn't authentic. This isn't genuine. Maybe it is that people give their lives to Jesus, and it's happening. I mean, I've seen it where churches are growing and people are coming to Christ like crazy, and it's the church people who are just like, no, it's just hype, man. They're just playing loud music, and no, this will all fade out. And so often it's the religious people who are the cynics. Let's go a little further. We're going to finish out this chapter, see what we got for time again. Hey, look at that. I got 6 minutes to cover the rest here. Verse 35, and Jesus went throughout all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every disease and every affliction. Jesus is here. He is going and healing. People are coming. They're bringing sick people to him. Good morning, Chris. Good to have you, man. They're bringing the sick to him. He's healing everybody. This is one of the things that I see in the Gospels that is very interesting to me, is that Jesus seems to heal everybody who comes to him. There's never a time where he doesn't. Now that obviously is bothersome, because there are people who have very real needs who come to him now, and it doesn't seem that he heals everybody. And so why? Why is it that every single person that came, he healed them, and now he doesn't? Now people come to him broken and desperate, and he's not healing them. There's a couple reasons that I think. Number one, that we talked about, he does still heal, but yet it still does take faith. Now that's part of it, but I don't want to put all of it on us, because I still think that there's something else going on here. And it's this, that there is a kingdom that Jesus is establishing. There is a kingdom where Jesus is drawing people to himself. There is an eternity. There is a time where every sickness will be healed. There will come a day when everyone who comes to Jesus will be perfectly made well. And that is an eternal thing. It will never end. They will not die again. So this is, as Jesus was on the earth and he's doing his ministry, this is a glimpse into that eternal time when we're with Jesus forever, and all sickness is gone, all pain is gone. The Bible speaks of that there is this eternal time, this kingdom that Jesus has healed and taken away all pain, that day is coming. And it's a glimpse of that. As Jesus is in the room in Israel, people are bringing the sick to him, and he's healing all of them. Now, that is not to say that Jesus does not heal now, but I don't know that it's the same. This was a glimpse into that kingdom. When he saw the crowds, verse 36, he had compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. I love Jesus' compassion for the broken, for the needs in the world around. He sees them. He has compassion on them. The crowds, it says they're like sheep without a shepherd. People are kind of funny. When I was a kid, we had sheep. I talked about this a bit ago, but we had sheep, and sheep are kind of a helpless animal. I mean, they're just, if they don't defend themselves well, they follow very easily. They're just, sheep are these with a shepherd could take a sheep. They could take the sheep anywhere. I'm sorry, I'm reading the comment. Yeah. Sheep will follow anywhere. Sheep will, as the shepherd leads them, they'll go anywhere. And sheep will follow even, if you got somebody who they've never met before, if he's got the right food in his hand, the sheep will follow anywhere. Sheep are, they're not going to defend themselves well. Jesus is looking out at the people and he's seeing, listen, they're like sheep without a shepherd. They're like sheep that, they'll be led off by anybody who's got a can of grain in his hand. They'll be led off or they'll be attacked by any animal. They'll have no way to defend themselves. And that's how people are. People tend to follow easily. The amount, here's what's crazy. Think about your Facebook feed. I know a lot of you guys are on Facebook. Think about your Facebook feed. Somebody will throw up some article, some news story, and then you just read the comments after it. Nobody's checking the sources. Nobody's asking the question, is this a legitimate news article? Did this even really happen? You'll just see people who see the news thing, and then they'll just rant about it and get really angry over it. And turns out it wasn't even true. It wasn't even true. Now, an example of this is just recently when the flooding was happening in Houston. Joel Osteen was, now listen, I'm not here to promote Joel Osteen or tear him apart, but Joel Osteen is the pastor of a massive church in Houston, and I remember, like, people were even from my church talking to me about it, but also it was all over Facebook about how Joel Osteen wasn't opening up his church during the flooding, and people were just ragging on this dude. They were just like tearing him apart about how he's just failing in all these ways. And this guy, it's all about money. It's all about big business. It's all about protecting himself. He doesn't care about the common people out there. And, somebody made a cell phone video of his church of just like, look, not a lot of flooding going on here. He should be opening this building. And people just ranted and tore him apart. And then he comes out like a week later and he's just like, no, look, guys, my building was definitely unsafe. It was not, I wasn't going to bring people in there and then just watch this building crash around them. But what was wild to me is, for the most part, Christian people were just tearing this guy apart based on this limited view of news because they already had it out to get him, was basically what was going on there. And my point of that is, sheep without a shepherd. These are people who, they're just sheep. I mean, you throw something out there to startle us, and we all just go running into the corner and huddle up and complain. That's so common. And so there's a need for leadership. There's a need for true stepping out and thinking and looking at the crowd and looking at what's being said and saying, that might not be true. And that we don't just react to every piece of information that comes out, but truly somebody's got to lead, and somebody's got to communicate, and somebody's got to think through some of this stuff. And so here's what Jesus does even after that. This is where we were going the whole time. Then he said to the disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. The season is ripe. People are ready. Even in Jesus' day, as he looked, he said that there's work to be done. There are people who need answers. There are people who need leadership. There are people, what's interesting, this is interesting if you know anything about the harvest. He says the harvest is ripe, the harvest is plentiful. There's just not enough workers to do the work. The work that he's talking about that needs to be done is not a work of simply planting seeds. There's a lot of people who, that's their thing. It's like, we're just planting seeds. No, truly, there are people who are ripe. They are ready to hear about the gospel. They're ready to hear about Jesus. There's just not enough people. There's a lot of people who planted seeds. There's just not a lot of people who are ready to reap the harvest, that are ready to go out there and do the work. And so he says, pray that more workers will be sent out. Now, what you'll know, he said that to his disciples. And then what we're going to see in the next chapter is that the ones that he sends out are the very ones that he told to pray. This verse right here, this the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly for the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. This was the verse when I was a kid that my mom read to me. That was a verse that really triggered in my heart and in my mind that God was going to call me to be in ministry, even full time. And so I would encourage you who are watching this, I'd encourage you to pray that God sends out workers into the harvest, that God will send out more, that God will send out people. All over the world there are needs, there are people, there are desperate people who need people to speak to them. They need people to pray for them. They need people to encourage them. They need people to teach them. Now, I want to say this as well. As you're praying for that, and I know, some of you guys who are on here, as you're praying and you're saying, God, would you send out more workers? Be open to the fact that he may be calling you. Even you. I know some of you guys are just like, no, that's not for me. Now, here's the thing. Some of you are doing exactly what you're called to do, and you know it. You're living exactly in line with what God has called you to do and called you to be. And if that is the case, you just keep on in that route, and yet at the same time, just continue to pray that God sends out more workers. But some of you, right there, you're just going through the motions. You're going to the job that you're going to because, well, hey, it kind of puts food on the table. There's no passion for it. You're just like, I guess we just wait until we die and then we live with Jesus forever. Going through, maybe you live till you retire. Maybe you're planning ahead. But you know that you're not living what you were built to do. And so as you're praying, perhaps it is that God has called you, or will call you as you're praying, and there's needs around the world, and maybe here's how I think you might know whether or not this calling is upon you. You'll know it because there will be a desire after it. For some, I've got good friends, and their heart is Africa, or their heart is Haiti, and their heart is like, man, I would love to go and serve in Haiti and help these people that are desperate and in need. Or their heart, my brother, is Cambodia. Maybe that's your heart. And here's what's crazy. There are people who have these desires to go to places and to minister to people, and they think, but you know what? That's just a selfish desire. That can't be me. That I've got so much darkness in my past, or even in my present. That can't be what God's calling me to do. And I encourage you, as you're praying that God sends out more people, be open to the fact that he may be calling you to do those things. That if he's put those places and those people, if you've looked out and you have compassion on the people and you say they need a shepherd, they need somebody to go and serve them, they need somebody to go and encourage them, maybe that's because he's put that on your heart because it's you who needs to go. And maybe all the limitations and all the reasons, and the number one thing often that will hinder you is you'll say, I don't know how I'd pay for it. That's often the number one thing when it comes to those types of really stepping out in faith. I don't know how I'd pay for it. And so again, I would encourage you to be praying and say, God, as you're sending out workers, I think it was Isaiah, right? Isaiah who said, here am I, send me. So as you're saying, Lord, there's a need. The harvest is ripe. There are people who need to hear about you. There are people who, even simple things, like maybe it is that, my son went down to Mexico a couple weekends ago, and they helped in an orphanage build a building. They helped put up walls, or just doing construction projects. There are needs all over the world. When I went down to Belize this summer, that's what we helped. There was a house that 8 people were living in, this tiny little house that was smaller, I think, than my garage, maybe about the size of my garage, and it was not even enclosed. So there was this tiny little enclosed section, and then there were just open walls and a roof. And so we put walls around it and gave them a much more enclosed area. That family's so grateful, glorifying God as a result for what we were able to do. Those types of things are very real. It could be long-term, it could be short-term. I don't know what God's calling you to do, but I just encourage you, as Jesus encouraged his disciples to do, pray to God that he would send more people. And maybe if you're the one who you find right now, you're the one who is currently not living as you feel is the calling upon your life, maybe that step is, as you're praying, God, send out more workers. also pray, and Lord, if you would, send me. So I want to end right there, guys. We got through chapter 9. I kind of liked covering more ground today. Felt like it flowed a little bit better. Let me know what you think about that too. You know, did it flow better? Did you like covering more verses and less rambling over the same stuff and saying the same thing over and over again? Or do you like going slower? Either way is good. Maybe people on both sides of it. But anyway, chapter 10 tomorrow, 6 a.m. I'll be back. Thank you guys for joining us. Still 20 of us on here. 6 a.m. tomorrow. See you guys. Anybody who left me a message on the Facebook, I can't see it. I mean, I did read some of them as we were going. Awesome, Darren. Someday I need to get over to London, man. Maybe I'll get a chance to do something out there. Awesome. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, join with us.